Hello everyone, welcome to Hue at Home. I'm Tracy Koga. Well, the month of August is nearly over and the weather has turned, it's gotten a little cooler, and of course we've got some rain. But that also means the start of fall and new beginnings. So today it's all about a few women that are doing some incredible things. We're going to meet the new executive director for the Victoria Hospital Foundation, Nicole Chammartin. But first, we're going to talk to a very dear friend of mine, Kayla Gordon. She is a legend in local theater, and she's finally, let's just say, riding off into the sunset into something new. So here she is, Kayla Gordon, center stage and in the spotlight. Well, some things never change. And Kayla Gordon, you never change. You're always so beautiful, but I have to admit, the glasses are great.
Oh, good. A little theatrical, I don't know. Not too
Yes.
over the top, but
No, never, never. Okay, so a little birdie, or I saw that you are retiring.
I am retiring from certain positions. I'm not, as they say in Spamalot, I'm not dead yet. I'm still around. I still am going to be kicking and screaming and doing whatever I do to do theater, but just not going to be an artistic director, anytime soon. Yeah, or for the next little while. Yeah.
Well, and let's talk about that position and the company and COVID and the pandemic. Theaters shut down. What was that whole experience like for you?
Well, closing down all theater has been pretty crazy for everybody involved in theater. For me, it was a time to be cathartic and think back on 40 years and at least 25 of those as an artistic director, actually more, because I was with Winnipeg Jewish Theatre for 11 and then almost 16 with Winnipeg Studio Theatre. So it was a time to really think about, do I want to continue being an artistic director as well? It kind of put me into that mode, which comes with a lot of weight. I mean, it comes with the whole fundraising. It comes with, making sure that we have grants and money to do all the producing that we do. And I just felt like I'm a little bit, ready for that torch to be taken on by somebody else. Not the directing part of it. I still hope to really come in and do theater, maybe for other companies as well. But I didn't want to have all the responsibility of planning a season and doing all that kind of fundraising. It just felt like the time was right, and especially because nobody has been able to do live theater in the last little while. We've carried on with our school program with the Academy and with my colleague Brenda Gorlick, of course. We've done everything on Zoom. We did wonderful master classes on Zoom. So we have been quite alive throughout the past year and a half, but just not live theater, We even produced a musical online with the junior companies. So there's been a lot of activity. But it was just time for me to say, okay, step back. I've got 4 grandchildren now, which kind of puts a different slice on things. And I'm into my photography. I like doing that part of things, which I can talk about later. But it just felt like the right time.
So, okay, getting back to live theater, where do you see it going?
Well, it's starting back up. If our numbers continue to stay low, I'm going to the Winnipeg Jewish Theatre in a week. They're doing their play in a tent. They're socially distanced. People are just finding new ways to approach it now while things are still cautious. So there is live theater. I am planning to go to New York with my colleague Brenda Gorlick in November to see some of the new works that are up there, and everything is opening up there. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that things stay low, and now that a lot of us are vaccinated, we'll be able to attend theater again. Inevitably we will. I mean, it's not going to last forever, like other plagues and things that have happened in the world. But yeah, time will tell for sure.
Well, and if you think of like the huge, like you said, musicals and, the big theatrical productions, do you kind of see it though moving back to a little bit more scaled down? Even when things open?
I think it will start off slowly, but it'll come back. It always has come back. It's going to come back with new creativity. I mean, there's been so much writing and so many people doing creative things during COVID because that's what we had to do. We had to sit at home. I know that, after certain times, like after wars and other things that have plagued the world, it has always come back in a different form. Yes, a little bit, but also hopefully in a better form, hopefully a lot more diversity. I mean, we're looking at that kind of thing happening in the theater world, and that's fantastic. So time will tell.
Yeah, you're right. So many other doors have been opened. Let's talk about the actors, though. Even locally, how have they fared, and what is sort of their mental health state like?
Well, it's funny. I see on Facebook that sort of keeps me in touch with a lot of them. A lot of them have gone into, not a lot, but some have gone into real estate. Some have done more, other kinds of activities that are more individual, crafts, writing, all of those kinds of things. People have found ways to stay creative for sure. A lot of online stuff. I mean, the level of the technical aspects of online stuff is huge. I mean, people have really learned to do video online, plays online, readings online, and all kinds of other things that you do, because as artists, we need to create. And if we're, like, I know with me, if I'm not creating or doing something, I would get depressed. Like I have to find an outlet. I mean, luckily I had my photography, so it took me out into the world of, I did a whole book on the murals in the city, which just kind of happened. And it was just something to keep me doing some sort of storytelling, creativity, while we couldn't do anything, especially when we couldn't even go out, when we were really locked down. That was hard. So I know a lot of actors particularly have had a tough time, producers, but I am hoping that most of them have found their way through this and will continue on.
Yeah.
It isn't because of COVID that I'm stopping producing. I just, you get to a certain age where you've done it for a long time and you just feel it's time to pass the torch on to somebody fresh. And that's what it is. Yeah, and I think that's, for me personally, what it wasn't COVID. That helped, maybe the timing, it might have put it off for another year or whatever, but really, I think I was heading that way anyway.
Yeah. And I guess now, if you look back at your big and glorious career, I mean, like you said, the Winnipeg Jewish Theatre and then Winnipeg Studio Theatre, favorite moments for Kayla Gordon?
Oh boy, that's tough. I mean, my biggest thrill of theater is putting people in a room and creating and people finding new relationships, and you do that in the theater rehearsal hall especially. I mean, I can't tell you the number of couples, we call them showmances, that have come out of some of my productions that I've done, people who are now married and have children. I have students that I taught at Weskeldona Collegiate and at UW that still continue to have a relationship with me. I watch them have children now. Like that's thrilling to see them grow and blossom. And because of theater, in many ways, have a new confidence about themselves. I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot more kids that we've taught, either whether I taught them at University of Winnipeg in the theater department or they were in our productions at Studio Theatre. I've seen a lot of them go onto Broadway, which 20 years ago there might have been 2 or 3. Now we've had at least 15 to 20 that have either been in off-Broadway shows or working regionally across the country. A couple of the guys I know that were in Altar Boys are now creating songs and CDs. I mean, that gives me a lot of pleasure, just to see the kind of activity that has come out of a lot of these kids that I've touched or that I've worked with. That's probably my most thrilling. I mean, there's little things along the way, like we got a Governor General's Award for a project that we did, a cross-cultural playwright exchange that we did with Indigenous kids up in Norway House and Winnipeg City kids at Weskeldona Collegiate. That was a beautiful moment. And I don't know, there's lots. When we went from doing fringe shows to jumped to the Warehouse Theatre and did Spring Awakening, which was a huge success, and Avenue Q, which was the first production I've ever done that actually paid for itself, even with all the fundraising. The ticket sales alone paid for the whole budget, which was a lot. So that was pretty thrilling. I can tell you a moment when I was producing a show with Winnipeg Jewish Theatre, and a little old lady got up in the middle of the show, and the performers stopped the show and turned to her, because Prairie Theatre Exchange has those bombs going, and he stopped and he turned to her and he said, "Can I help you? Would you like some help?" And he actually went up and walked with her to the vom and let her go and pointed her on the way. And then she came back later. He stopped the show again and brought her back to her seat. And the audience just went, oh, like it's those moments where you're sharing, you're sharing a moment in time with an audience that is just so joyful and special. So I have lots of those. I mean, I could probably write a book on those moments where things happen and the unexpected happens in the theater, right? So yeah, that's
well, you
really
should. That should be your next project, along with the
maybe.
photography. So
I'm not a writer. I'm not, the photography thing is something else. So I'm certainly not a writer. I did try playwriting once, and I bow my hands to any playwright because it is certainly the hardest part of this whole business. If you don't have a good writer and a good play, you don't have a good product, right? So I thought, okay, what could be so hard? And I once wrote a play about it was just about like my friends and girlfriends commenting on them, and it was like, oh, it was awful. So I don't think I'm ever going to be a writer. I'm not trying that, but yeah.
oh my goodness. So you said that you still want to direct, you want to produce. Is there anything that you haven't done that you want to do now that you're going to have a bit of more free time?
There's a couple shows that I'm kind of eyeing to see if the rights ever come up. I'm not going to mention the names, but at this point, there's a couple that I would love to get my teeth into. Either I would convince whoever the new artistic director is at Winnipeg Studio Theatre to produce it, or maybe go to one of the other local theatres. I'm open to directing. I've done a fair bit of directing outside of the city. Like I did a few shows in the States and in Toronto. I would consider, you know, if someone would have me, I would love to be there to direct a specific play. So yeah, there's nothing else really that's jumping at the bit at the moment, but I know there will be things that will come up. And I also have done so much work with local fundraisers and charities. I mean, different events and flash mobs and things like that I like to do and like to work with the community. So there hopefully will be some of that still down the pipes. Yeah.
Well, now that everybody knows that Kayla Gordon is free, I'm sure your phone is going to be ringing off the hook. But
that's funny. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
But in all of this, I guess, what would you like all the people that you've touched and taught? Words of wisdom. I don't know if it's wisdom or just words from Kayla Gordon. What would you say?
Oh, another good question. I guess, I mean, coming up through a period of time where there were not a lot of female, there was only one other artistic director going through my period of time. I would say what I've done, my mantra, has never been to wait for somebody else to give me a job. If I really wanted to do something and I was biting, you know, like itching to do a project, I always found a way. So I would say doors can always be open if you try. So I guess my motto is, you know, you never know until you try, right? The worst they can do is say no, or you'll get a door slammed in your face, right? So have the perseverance to carry on your own. Someone once said, don't look sideways, especially an actor. Don't look sideways. In fact, it was Sam Hill, who was a Winnipeg actress who was in Phantom of the Opera. You know Samantha Hill. She played Christine. She's one of our studio theater girls. She was in Spring Awakening. She said somebody told her not to look sideways, to not compare yourself with others, to be bold enough to feel confident about yourself and go forward and do what you really, really are striving to do. And I guess I would say that to anybody starting out in the business. If you're driven, now you have to be driven because it's not an easy business. I would never encourage somebody who wasn't completely, wanting to do this, because the competition out there is far more than it used to be. There's a lot of talent out in the world. But if you really want it and you've got the drive, you will find a way to create and be creative. So yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Oh. Words of wisdom.
And keep passing the torch to other younger and other willing emerging artists that are coming through the pipes too.
And you are the perfect example. So Winnipeg thanks you. The theater world thanks you, and we know that we are going to see you somewhere again. So thank you so much.
My last thing I want to say is I've always been really, I know Nia Vardalos was someone that comes to mind. She sat beside me at Rainbow Stage and she wanted to go off and do comedy. And it took her a long time, but she finally made it with My Mother's Lesbian, with
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding, right, similar to the play we did. And I remember being kind of jealous about that she went off to Toronto and she finally made it, right? She's done very, very well. And I stayed in Winnipeg. I found out it was the production of Kismet, which means fate. I found out that summer that I was pregnant with my daughter. This is 1985. I'm really aging myself. Anyway, I stayed in Winnipeg. I have worked away here and there, but I have always made Winnipeg my home, and I am so glad that I did. I will never look back. Like, I'm really happy that I've had my career here and the people that I know in this community. It's been great. Yeah. So that's how I guess I'd like to leave it. Yeah.
Oh, well, we love you. Thank you for staying. And
Well,
enjoy your free time.
thank you. I'm sure our paths will cross at
Oh,
some point.
I'm sure.
I hope so.
I want to be part of that next adventure. You know how to
Okay.
get a hold of me.
Come on a photo trip.
Okay.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up. I'm digging you. I'm feeling you. Girl, you know what's up. Say I'm digging you. And I'm wanting you. Tell me what's up. Tell me what's up. Girl, you know what's up. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up.
Well, I want to give a big welcome to Nicole to Hue at Home, and congratulations on your new position as Executive Director for the Victoria Hospital Foundation. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to both be with the foundation and be here today.
Oh, I know. So let's start with you, though, Nicole. A little bit about yourself and your background pre-coming to the foundation.
So my background, I'm a social worker. I come from a long line of working with community, and that's one of the reasons I find this work so exciting. I've worked in the education system and the health system. I've worked for a long time in the health system. I spent 7 years as the executive director of the Canadian Mental Health Association, 7 years as the executive director of Clinic Community Health, and as you can see, health and mental health are really a huge passion of mine. And when I saw the opportunity with the foundation, I really saw an opportunity to bring those things together and work in a place that is really innovative and creative in moving these things forward in community.
Well, no doubt. And you bring, I guess, Nicole, a real knowledge of community and what it means, right? Mental health within the community. How now, as you've made the transition to the hospital foundation, how much are you going to expand that knowledge that you have?
I think for me, when you come to a new place, first of all, there's so much you want to learn and you want to listen. So listening to the people that I'll be working with, the people both within the foundation office, within the hospital, within our communities that we serve, is going to be so important to me. And then being able to take what I learn and help shape our vision moving forward is going to be incredibly important. Obviously, where I've come from and the experience I have are also going to be a big part of that. And I think that I have a lot that I can bring to that. But I also think it's incredibly important that I listen and see where our community's at, and where the hospital is at, and combine all of those things.
Well, and it's interesting because not a lot of people know that the Victoria Hospital is the center of excellence for mental health. Through that to restructuring within the hospitals, but how can we get the word out more, Nicole?
Well, I think this is a great start. Like, I think this is exactly how we do it. We have those conversations, we find the places to talk about it, and it's why I'm excited to be here today. I love talking to people, and I love talking about mental health. It's something I've done so much in my career. And so I think every time we have a conversation about it, one, we get to talk about what the foundation does, which is great. We get to talk about what the Victoria Hospital does, which is great. But we get to talk about mental health, which is something we haven't done enough in our world, right? It's something that we're only just starting to do in a way that is less stigmatized, that is more open. And so every time we have one of those conversations, it's incredibly important. And so I think that that's how we do it, and that's how we start to change the conversation.
Yeah. Let's talk about relationships then. There is a beautiful story just this past summer with Artbeat Studios and the Victoria Hospital Foundation. Working together, they had this wonderful art program which had a box of supplies and a notebook with some really uplifting messages from former Artbeat alumni that suffer with or live with mental illness, that have found themselves through art. Is this something, Nicole, that you want to do moving forward and creating those relationships with other organizations such as Artbeat?
Yeah, something that really attracted me to the foundation is this renewed vision to work both within the hospital and community to create a stronger community, to create stronger relationships. I love that this is something that we're doing. We know that that healthcare occurs everywhere. The health is a part of all of us, and certainly it doesn't just happen in hospitals. And the way that we create a healthier community is to be everywhere. So community groups like Artbeat, who I have been able to work with almost throughout my career, and so it's so exciting that it's one of the first groups I got to work with here. They do amazing work. They do amazing work in helping people be healthier in our community, have an approach to wellness, creating resilience and recovery. It's just a wonderful opportunity to be able to change how people live every day. Artistic endeavors are something that really change day-to-day life for people. I think that it's hard to even imagine how much of an impact that can be, but because I've been able to see that for decades, I really see it, and I was moved by it for sure.
Oh, awesome. So we do have a very important event coming up on Thursday, September 9th. It is the annual 6th annual, I believe, Miracle Garden Party. And we are so happy that you will be able to experience it firsthand, and we fully welcome you. It has been definitely an interesting time with the event because it used to be in the garden, which you've now seen. And it's now moved to a hybrid where we're going to be at 4 great restaurants, but enjoying still a little bit of the garden and some great entertainment. So I want to talk, there's a little bit of surprise, and people, you need to come out and support this event because you'll see it firsthand. Robots, but in a good way. Robots aren't taking the world over yet. But I'm going to let Nicole explain this one.
They're very small, unscary robots, I promise. So one of the things that the foundation has been able to support this year is a research project that supports telepresence robots. They are meant to work with people that are living in the community with dementia and to support their caregivers to have a more consistent and present response to them. So they have iPads, they have the ability to be able to communicate consistently and to be able to be present to notify if there's issues. They're a really exciting use of technology. At the foundation, we're really committed to innovation, using innovation to change day-to-day lives and health for folks and to keep them out of hospital, right? To keep people in community. So our robots, they haven't yet gotten their community assignments. They're still at the very beginning of their work. They've just gotten their names, actually, after our naming contest. Our 4 of them are going to be out on assignment at each of the restaurants as part of the garden party and interacting with folks there and interacting with each other, actually, through the various venues. And so we're really excited about that. I think honestly it's going to be hard to keep me away from just hanging out with a robot all night, but I think that'll be true for many of our guests. So it's just going to be really exciting to see them. I haven't gotten to meet one yet, so this is the big unveiling.
Oh, it's going to be so amazing, and we got to make sure that they don't suddenly disappear either.
So we're gonna have to keep a close tie on those robots.
Yes,
maybe we could get them to help out, though. Maybe they could do a little wine and cheese tray. I don't know. We'll have to see what they're capable of.
But this is fantastic. And again, the Miracle Garden Party, if you want tickets, you can go to the website, thevicfoundation.ca. And please, you know, it's going to such a great cause. And it always is a wonderful night. And I'm so excited that, Nicole, you're going to be there and be part of it. But this must also be very, I guess, not only exciting for you, Nicole, but in a sense, where the foundation and where you can take the foundation moving forward, because that it is a lot. And you know, and if we put into the equation pandemic, COVID, we're not out of it yet. You know, the 4th wave is coming. How are foundations really looking to pivot and to really support not only the hospital but the community?
I think one of the amazing things about the foundation, and they started this before I was here, but I'm so impressed by it, is how they've pivoted to during COVID to both meet needs and look at what we're doing, but with things like this event. So being able to still offer a really world-class event in a safe way, it's really, really impressive. It's just a wonderful opportunity. Again, I just can't say enough about it. So I'm really looking forward to being able to participate in it. I think anybody who attends will be really excited about it. I also think it was a great opportunity to be able to support our restaurants in a time when they were struggling, and really support our community. So do things that we're committed to and aligning with our values. So engaging in our communities, supporting our communities. We know that mental health is going to be a big part of the recovery of this pandemic, coming together in different ways, looking at how it's impacted us over the course of the pandemic, how it will continue to impact us. We know it's not over. We know there's still things that are going to continue to happen in the coming months, in the coming year. Hopefully recovery is soon. Hopefully we're near the end of this, right? Let's live with hope. Hope is an important part of mental health recovery, but we know that it's a huge impact and we need to invest in mental health now. We already needed to invest in it. Now we really need to invest in it. So events like this help us do that. They help us take what you bring to an event like this, take your investment in it, and also the joy and energy that you bring to it, and reinvest that into community and into positive initiatives like the robots, like Artbeat, to do wonderful things. And so I'm, as you can tell, excited. I think everybody here is, and I think it's going to be a wonderful time.
Oh, well, we can hardly wait. The date is Thursday, September 9th, 2021, of course. And go to the website, thevicfoundation.ca. And once again, Nicole, congratulations. I'm excited to see where the foundation can go forward and make a real impact in the community. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to Hue at Home. We are going to leave you now with a beautiful video by singer-songwriter Leanna Oki. She lives in Ontario, but the COVID and pandemic certainly hasn't stopped this young artist from writing some beautiful songs. Here she is, Leanna Oki.
So desperate to fall right into the abyss. I left my mind by that shoreline, so don't look behind, 'cause I'll fall back into deep blue waves that will wash me away. The sun and watch myself fade. So let me feel enough, so I know why I get so caught up, because I need more than a rush to carry me into the sea. Just breathe until it's tough, but all this air is way too rough to feel the craziness I love. So let me sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. I watch the water flow, giving me ambido, but I wish you'd let me go, 'cause I'm either numb or I feel too much, overwhelmed now that I've succumbed to all this unrequited love. Give me one sign from up above, and let me feel enough, so I know why I get so caught up, because I need more than a rush to carry me into the sea. Just breathe until it's tough, but all this air is way too rough to feel the craziness I love. So let me sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. Sink into the sea. I'm on the edge of a cliff or upon a balcony. Whichever way you envision will be the enemy. I'm on the edge of a cliff or upon a balcony. Whichever way you envision will be the end of me. Oh, I'm falling now. Can anyone hear me now? Just let me feel enough. I'm sinking. Let me feel enough. I'm drowning. Let me feel enough. I'm sinking. Let me feel enough. I'm drowning. Let me feel
We want to give a very special thank you to all of our guests on today's show and leave you with this question. Are you starting a new career? Or maybe retiring, and what are you going to do? We want to know, so send us an email to hello@ilikehue.com, or you can message us on Facebook and Instagram at iLikeHue. But for now, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time on Hue at Home.
I left my mind by that shoreline, so don't